Hello, welcome to Sky Sweaty Record Review, episode 113. It's the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the YMCA. And the artist I'm going to be reviewing today is called Claude Fontaine and her self-titled debut. Her name is very French, Claude with an E, although she apparently just comes from Los Angeles. And the music doesn't sound American at all. Half of it sounds like a dead ringer for 60s vintage reggae. And then the second half is like bossa nova infused Brazilian sounding music. Yet she wrote every single track. If you just told me that, right? You just gave me those data points. I would be like, this is not going to be good. The whole thing, I've read if you look up her on Tidal, there's a whole story about her. And it feels like a really contrived narrative. Her heart was broken and she was walking in London and she just stumbled into a record shop and heard some reggae and it changed her life. But it's a really good album. So I'm just going to buy the story. I remember when I first heard like 60s and 70s reggae, kind of like rock steady reggae or even some like early kind of dub stuff, like King Tubby and just that amazing atmosphere. Like I tried to make music like that on my 4-track. It was a complete disaster, but why not? Why should a white girl from Los Angeles not make vintage sounding reggae? If she's a good songwriter and she can sing and she has good performers, why not? So that was my attitude going in, and that led to a really pleasant listening experience. But it got me thinking, okay? Because the first 5 tracks are all this reggae. And then the last 5 tracks are this kind of bossa nova thing. And it got me kind of like, is this style? Is it style over substance? What is this really? And I realized who it reminded me of. It reminded me of Serge Gainsbourg. So, if you don't know Serge Gainsbourg, he's maybe the most edifying, best French singer-songwriter of all time. And he would often just change musical styles. In the 60s, he released an album called Percussion, and that's like all African-inspired and South American-inspired. In the late 70s, he released an amazing reggae album, Aux Armes, etc., if I'm trying to say that in English, should be Aux, A-U-X, Arms, A-R-M-E-S, etc. It's an amazing reggae album. It's made with Sly and Robbie. It's as good as anything you'll hear. But it's by this like old French guy. And I think there are some artists who can take on other genres, can take on other styles, and still have something left of themselves. And that's a really hard thing to do. And I believe that that's what's been done on this Claude Fontaine album. I'll give you 2 examples of this music. First one is Cry for Another. It's the first track. And you can hear just how amazingly well done it is. Like, it really sounds like old reggae. And then her vocals come in. At times, her vocals are too breathy. And at times, her vocals are a little bit lost in the atmosphere. But let's just listen to this for a little bit, because you've been hearing me talk enough. You hear it? Like, it's really good. It's good songwriting. She writes all of the lyrics, she writes all the music herself, and then the musicians that she has backing her up are like old studio musicians, like professional reggae studio musicians. So it's not really inauthentic, unless you believe that cultural appropriation happens anytime anybody from one culture performs anything else. But that's a whole nother argument that gets me insanely upset, and I just start saying weird things that sounds terrible. So I won't go into that. But that's the first thing you want to say. Oh, cultural appropriation. Oh, duh, 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 duh. But when it's this well done, who cares? And now I'll play you an example. The first track of the bossa nova style, the track "Pretending He Was You." general, the bossa nova stuff, I don't like it as much because I prefer the reggae soundscape. But in the bossa nova stuff, you hear her voice a lot more clearly, and her songwriting is a little bit stronger because it kind of permits for like more chord changes, more range to her voice. This track called Strings of Your Guitar, she has really great range on this track. So that's kind of how it breaks down. So there it is, you know. Another one of my favorites is this upbeat track called Little Sister. It's like kind of like almost like a 60s ska-ish sound. Maybe the best melody of all of the reggae stuff. The lyrics are able to jump out a bit. In general, it's a very unified album thematically. It's mostly just about a breakup and loving somebody and wishing that you weren't broken up with them, which is something that a lot of musicians I've studied have sung about. Why not? So then that kind of leads to the big debate, you know. Is this just style over substance? You know, I mean, the album cover, I'll show it here. Hopefully I won't break my whole system here. You know, it's her dressed in black staring at a parrot, you know. And, you know, that's kind of what this whole album is like. You know, she's trying to be all cool and sleek and sexy and all that. And like just very kind of like plain. And then this like beautiful parrot pops up and it's there and it's the combination of colors and darkness. But is it just that? Is it just this really slick photo shoot, or is there more? And I would say that there is more. I would say there's more because it reminds me of Gainsbourg. And I think that there's strength in it. And the fact that she writes it all gives it much more weight. So, because she is like an interesting personality, a female singer, it actually made me feel sort of like it was Gainsbourg and Birkin kind of mixed into one. You know, like a self-Pygmalion just kind of jumping around and making this new music. So, there's my review. The heater just kicked in, so the sound's going to be bad for the last 30 seconds. I apologize. It's great. It's 2 albums in one. I also put up Godard up there. Look up the video for Cry for Another. I just happened to look at it because I was curious, like, what her videos would be like. And it's basically an attempt to be just like 1+1 or Sympathy for the Devil by Godard. Just kind of another fun, weird callback thing for people who like France in the 60s. Okay, so there you go. There's my review of Claude Fontaine. If I had to give it a 3-word review, I'm probably going to say something having to do with Gainsbourg, Birkin in one. I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with something better. Anyway, until the next episode, there's the camera.